So there's a famous dispute between the Torah and the Gaonim regarding tashlumin, regarding making up certain tefillah. So the Torah writes in Hilchos Shabbos, he quotes from Rav Amram Gon, because of Rav Amram, Tov lo hiskir shel Shabbos ba'aravis. Let's say you forgot, you left out Ritzei, you left out the Shabbos part of the Shmona Esrei. Magzira, in other words, if you daven a tefillah chol on Shabbos, you have to repeat it, as long if you didn't mention anything about Shabbos. So Tov lo hiskir shel Shabbos ba'aravis, Friday night, Magzira no so. That's what Rav Amram Gon says. Rav Moshe Gon Kasav, and Rav Moshe Gon says, Yachid Shetov Elo Hiskir Ataki Dashta B'Leil Shabbos, an individual who made a mistake and didn't mention the middle bracha Ataki Dashta. So Rav Moshe Gon says, Im Shama Mishriach Sibar Magan Avos Bidvaro. If he heard from the Shriach Sibor the bracha Mein Sheva, what we do after Shmona Esrei, Shehi bracha Mein Sheva. If he heard it Meirosh V'Yatzo from beginning until end, Yatza Yidei Chavoso. So Rav Moshe Gon is a big chiddush, the one who made a mistake in the silent Shmona Esrei Friday night. So instead of repeating Shmona Esrei, it's a mistake that warrants a new Shmona Esrei. So you can listen to the bracha Me'ein Sheva and be Yotzei. Rav Nutragai Kasav, Afilo Hispalo Zayin Brachas Klal. And Rav Nutrin go even says further, because we know from other halachas there's a difference perhaps. The Machoket Rishonim is, let's say a person forgot, how do we view a Shmona Esrei without Ya'ala V'Yavo, without Talomatar? Do we view it as you didn't daven at all, or do you view it as you daven but you're lacking the Chiyav Askara? So Rav Moshe Gon is talking about a case where you're just lacking the Chiyav Askara. But Rav Natragai writes, even if you didn't daven at all, if a person reads, I guess you got to show up and then doing Magen Avos, one could be Yotzei their own Shmona Esrei by merely listening to Magen Avos. So that's what the Gonim. So you have Rav Amram Gon who says that if you davened but you left out Shabbos, so you have to go out, and he's saying more, and Rav Moshe Gon just extends it to even to a Yachid who forgets, I guess maybe, unless the Torah is talking about over there the Shliach Sibor, but so Rav Amram Gon just writes the obvious halacha that you have to go back. So Rav Moshe Gon says, but if, you know what, if you hear from Magen Avos, it's a go. If you daven but you left out Shabbos, and Rav Notra going says even if you didn't daven at all, you could be Yotzei V'Tema. So that's what the Gonim. So the Torah writes, it's a wonder. Kevin Shemagzirin also in will Hiskil Shel Shabbos. Since Talacha is that a Friday night one daven a weekday Shmona Esrei, you have to repeat it. So Hech Yotzei B'Brachas Achas Me'ein Sheva. How could you be Yotzei Shmona Esrei with the Magen Avos bracha? V'lo dami lama shakasav bahag. It's not similar to what the bahag says. Yochid shelo hiskir shel rosh chodesh v'shama mishriach sibur hatfil merosh atov yatsa. It's not comparable to that case. Why not? The shani hasam shashameya kol tefillah, because in that case you have to listen to the whole tefillah. Avo hacha hech yotzei b'rekas mein sheva b'makam sheva. Because we know we paskin that you're only those who are Eino Baki. So basically the Torah is a maze, at whichever level you want to take it, but even whether it's the halacha or Rav Moshe Gon that Yitavelo Hiskir, and certainly according to Rav Nutranai who says you didn't daven at all, in general, how does he doesn't understand how could one make up, how could that satisfy you the Chiyav Tashlumin if one did not daven? So that's what the Torah asks on the Gaonim. So to try to lessen the fall, the Beis Yosef wants to answer up the Torah by saying that the Yesh Lomar, the Kevin, shetam hagaonim ha'elu who the cave in the tfilas arvis rishus, that since tfilas arvis is a rishus, lo chamira kishar tfilas. It's not as strict as by others. Lo Rav Moshe de Israel or Rav Natron, it is going to either way. So the Beis Yosef want to say there's a special halacha by Friday night tefillah. Well, that's the only time we have bracha me'in sheva. But the reason why, I guess, Chazal instituted bracha me'in sheva, well, by tefillas mincha and shacharis you have a regular chazaras hashatz. A Ma'ariv, which is only a rishus, so therefore, really technically speaking, you don't need any chazaras hashatz, and that's why we don't have it all week long. But on Friday night, when people come to shul more, they're not working, so Chazal instituted to do a bracha me'in sheva. So, and the reason why is the Beis Yosef says since Ma'ariv is only a rishus, so therefore we could be yotzei with the tefillah. That's how the Beis Yosef says. However, but there seems to be a fundamental. That's a nice pragmatic answer. But still, the Torah knew that tefillas arvis is rishus, and still, nevertheless, he says, "How could you be yotzei?" There seems to be a more fundamental issue going on here to explain the machlokas Torah, the Gaonim. So perhaps the machlokas Torah and the Gaonim, whether you could be yotzei your mitzvah of tefillah through Magen Avos, that could depend on another famous dispute that it's not just them, but it's known as the opinion of Shitas Rashi and the Shitas of the Gra. The Gemara tells us in Shabbos and the Chavdalad Amabeis that on Friday night after the Tfilas Lachash, they instituted Berchas Achas Me'ein Sheva Mishum Sakana. So what does that mean, Mishum Sakana? That's what Rashi writes, Mishum Sakana is Mazikin, and that's what Rashi points out. So how you bate Knesset Shalahem B'Yishu, since the shuls were out in the fields, in the outskirts of the city, the whole Shar Leile Hachol Hayu Oskin B'Malachta, and the rest of the week they're busy working, Ubegamra Malachta Mitzpal and Arbim Bebeis Yisadav and Helm Alayu by Bebeis HaKnesses. About Leil Shabbos, Ba'im Bebeis HaKnesses, V'chashu Sheyesh She'ein Maharin Lavo, V'shon Lachat Tfilah, Kach Arichot Tfilah B'Tztibar. They worry about people walking back late. So according to Rashi, it was more of a way to be marech the tefillah b'tzibor, that people shouldn't have to walk home alone. That's how Rashi learns the sakana. Sakana is mazikin. It was just a stall so people don't have to walk home alone. The Gra doesn't disagree with that, but he says it was something more fundamental. When he learns the Gemara, he says the Gemara is telling me something more, that it was set up as a chazaras hashatz. In fact, the Gra writes in Siman Reis Samaches, he says, "Kosev HaShulchan Aruch Mispalo Shel Chovel Hitzkel Shel Shabbos or Shel Mispal Klal V'Shomar Mishliach Tzibor Bracha In Sheva Meirosh Ad Sof Yatza." So the Vilna Gaon explains over there that the Gaonim explain Mishum Sakana Kadei Shel Yitzchu Mispal V'Yotzim B'Shliach Tzibor. Because of the Sakana, therefore they agree this is Sakana. But because of the Sakana, they instituted lahotzi mishalo hispalo, and certainly if a person did daven and left out the appropriate. So there seems to be a fundamental machlok as Rashi versus the Vilna Gaon. Well, obviously I'm misusing Rashi and the Gaon, but it's obviously there are different times. Gaon is much later. Or people say it was like a Rishon. So I think they say a Maisa, I don't know what it means exactly. I think they say a Maisa when they ask Rav Chaim Belezhin, so is he like a Rishon? I think he said he's like one of the Rishonim. I'm not sure if he said he was like the Rambam and not the Rashba not the Ramban. But either way, he was viewed as in terms of significance, he's cholik on Rishonim a lot. He's allowed to. And he points out that it seems to be a fundamental machlokas. Number one, so who should be saying the Magen Avos? So according to Rashi, what's the difference? He says, so we could all sing it together. But according to the Vilna Gaon, it's serving as a din of a shliach tzibor. the Chazan should be saying it mitchila ad sofa. So perhaps this machlokes, the Vilna Gaon and Rashi, what's the nature of the Birchas Me'ein Sheva, so that could be totally into his machlokes, the Torah Gaonim. The Torah who writes, like, what's going on here, how could Me'ein Sheva have something to do with Chazaras Hashat? It's just that something Mishum Sakana, so why in the world could you be Yotze your Shemona Esrei with Berachas Me'ein Sheva? However, according to, and that's the way the Torah seems to worry, but the Gaonim, or I should say the Gra is working with the Gaonim, that the whole purpose of Me'ein Sheva was to serve as a Chazaras Hashat. And therefore, that's how we could explain the Machlokas here between the Torah and the Gaonim seems to be the Machlokas Rashi and the Gra on a fundamental reason on what is the nature of Bracha Me'ein Sheva. And if it's a Chazaras Hashat, we understand it's a Chiddush, the Tarvis is Rishus will make, but then you can make up if you daven something wrong Friday night or didn't daven, so then you can make it up. We'll have to continue on what role does it play if one, up to now we're talking about you forgot that you didn't daven Ma'ariv, and we said they go and said if you miss Ma'ariv, you can make it up by davening, hearing Bracha Me'ein Sheva. We'll have to discuss next time what happens if you didn't daven Mincha on Erev Shabbos. Either you didn't daven Mincha at all, you daven the wrong Mincha. So we know the halach is if you didn't daven Mincha, you have to do Tashlumin. So we'll have to get into the question of Ma'ariv is only a Rishus, Mincha is a Tashlumin. So how do we view the two sets of Tefillah when when you're davening Arvis first, which is a Rishus, and Mincha, which is a Chova? So we'll have to discuss the different shitas, what happens to, how do we label these different types of tefillahs? Does Arvis take on a higher level status? Does Mincha take on a low level? We'll have to get into it.